You are listening to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, also known as Lauren Fitz. I'm a medical doctor, a fitness instructor, an entrepreneur, a health and fitness coach, but most importantly, I am a lover of life. And here on the Fitz and Healthy podcast, I intend to give you a ton of great information and knowledge that will serve as potential power so that you can live a life by design and make it more fits and healthy. And don't forget to listen to the disclaimer at the end. I'm not your doctor, yo. All right, enjoy the episode. Much love. Ciao. Hello and welcome to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Cinthanie from Cinthanie.com. What's up, girl?
Hey, girl. Hey.
There it is.
Say that. We're so predictable.
We are. But, we are officially in week 2 after we launched our podcast last week. Oh,
my gosh.
We are at 20,000 plus downloads.
Just a little over 20,000.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Like I can't, and I don't even know how many reviews we have. The last time I checked, it was 110. Read all of them. Literally brought me to tears.
Yeah.
I can't tell the listeners how much I appreciate it because, have you actually left a review on a podcast before?
Okay, so I actually tried to leave a review on ours because I wanted to see why it was so hard, or so I could explain it to people, and I haven't been able to figure it out. So props to all of the people, all 100, and the last time I checked, I think it was like 111.
Yeah,
and they're all 5-star reviews.
Yes,
that's cool.
Excellent.
But yeah, the last time I checked, I could not figure out how to do it.
You know what we need to start doing? We need to start reading a review of the week.
I would love that. I think that's so awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to volunteer you to choose which review of the week. Okay, that's going to be one of your many tasks.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm down with it for sure. Since Excellent. I can't leave a review, the least I can do is read one.
Girl, we gotta figure out how you can leave a review. Okay, just saying.
Every time I click submit, it just zeroes out the screen. Yeah, I don't know.
It's all good. Anyways. We'll take care of it. So today's topic, I will warn the listeners, it's going to be a serious one, and I apologize in advance if it becomes emotional, but it is an emotional topic, and it's something that I know. I just had someone literally 2 days ago private message me about how my story has helped give her the courage to stand up for herself and make a decision that so many people don't have the balls to make.
Yeah.
And I want to title this podcast Seize the Day, because that's essentially
that just gave me chills when you said that.
Yeah. Well, it's I want to empower people so that they can seize the day and not let the day seize them.
Yeah.
And so this is my story of what happened to me in December of 2015. And a lot of people on social media, like my coaches and some of my clients in my private challenge groups, kind of know the story. I've been a speaker at a few events where I've shared the story, but this is officially actually my first time to come out for the public, to hear the nitty gritty and the ugly details.
Right.
So if this is a podcast listener who this is the first time you've ever listened to me, I'm a 37-year-old female who I just moved out to California, 5-6 months ago now. And it was after one of the hardest years of my life in 2016. But 2016 was started by the December of 2015 events. Yeah. And long story short, December of 2015 was actually the exact month that I stopped practicing anesthesia. I told my anesthesia department, for listeners, I was an anesthesiologist. I told my anesthesia department to not schedule me any cases for December because I was following my heart and my passion, which is to help people via health and fitness. And so I've got my clubfitzfitness.com business and my coaching business, and I was ready to do that full time. I have a dance fitness class that I teach called Club Fitz. That class was rocking. I was ready to conquer the world. And my husband at the time, he was ready to take over the financial responsibility because he was an orthopedic surgeon for the Air Force. And so anyone that is military knows that just because you're a doctor doesn't mean that you're paid like a doctor, especially orthopedic surgeons in private practice make a lot of money. In the Air Force, they don't. And especially when half of the money is going to pay for child support. So long story short, that just being said, I was the main breadwinner in the family. And I I bought our house. I was, any big vacation we went on was pretty much
a hustler, baby.
Exactly. Some people could see me as a sugar mama. But that being said, this was always with the understanding that once my ex-husband got out of the Air Force and became a private practice orthopedic surgeon, that he would take over and be the main breadwinner while I built my business, because I have zero training as far as it comes to being I don't have a business degree. I've never taken any entrepreneurial courses. Being an entrepreneur is completely new ball game for me. And the idea of being my own business owner was something hard to even wrap my brain around. And so that the first time I ever did that was in 2015, when the idea of Club Fitz Fitness and my choreography online business came about. And that very scary. I don't like to fail. That's one of my biggest fears. I think it's a lot of people's biggest fears.
Yeah.
Cause I just don't fail in life, or so I thought. But that being said, so I want everyone to understand the background of what built up to December 2015.
Yeah.
Now, 2015, December, it's my first month to not go to the OR every single day. It's my first month to fully commit my time and energy to my two businesses. And December 14th, it was a Monday night. I was teaching class, and the gym that I taught at finally built this stage for us, because we taught in this big basketball court, and people that would come to the back couldn't see anything, and they complained, and the gym said that they would build us a stage. Long story short, the stage they built us, it was so tiny. I should have listened to my gut. My gut told me that I shouldn't be dancing on it because it was so small and dangerous. But I didn't listen to my gut. So that's moral of the story number one. Always listen to your gut.
Always follow your intuition.
Yes. Yeah. And so we did these what we called birthday playlists. So if it was, and I think it was, I want to say, I don't remember whose birthday playlist it was. I think it was Kelly's. But when it's their birthday, they can request up to 10 songs, their favorite songs, no matter how old. Yeah, no, and it made the class peeps feel special on their birthday,
Yeah.
And so it was a birthday playlist, and it was a song that we hadn't done in a couple of years. It was called Can't Believe It, but I called it the Booty Congo line, because during the chorus, you would pretend like you were doing Congo line booty, on your neighbor's booty, but you really didn't touch your neighbor's booty unless they wanted you to, and in which I had nothing to do with that. But it was second to last song. And long story short, I stepped on the edge of the stage. Too much of my foot was in the air. My knee tried to keep me up balanced onto the stage, but it was just too much of my weight was in the air. And I fell to the ground. I fell off the stage. I felt a pop. I knew the instant it happened that I tore my ACL.
That makes my knee hurt just hearing.
Yeah. Well, and being an anesthesiologist, and especially an anesthesiologist that was married to an orthopedic surgeon, I knew the moment it happened, those were the first words that came out of my mouth. I just blew out my ACL. Now, so I just remember like it was yesterday. I didn't cry immediately. I was just trying to get the shock of what just happened and what that meant, because I know what comes along with ACL repair. I know it's a year-long recovery. It's 6 months before you can do anything. And I had just freaking told my anesthesia department to not schedule me because I'm doing fitness full time. And now I'm going to have surgery.
Yeah.
And so,
and not only that, but to be off of that knee for quite a bit of time.
Oh yeah. 8 weeks on crutches.
Oh my gosh.
Freaking weeks.
Yeah. That's a lifetime for people that are fitness professionals and you work out every day, not just because it's your job, but because you love it.
Yep.
That's, oh my gosh, it's the hardest thing to hear.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I'm a busy bee by nature. I don't sit still. I'm constantly moving. So being on crutches, that was a lesson of lots of patience during that.
I remember that was the first time I met you, was you were on crutches.
You're right.
I met you in January, right after that happened.
Yep. Because that was when I had the realization that my right booty cheek had already deflated. Not even kidding. I remember I was standing in line with my friends. We were at the event in Dallas. And I for some reason I had my hand on my booty cheeks, I know, right? My booty cheeks. And I just remember thinking, oh, my right cheek doesn't feel the same as my left cheek. Okay. That's beside the point. But okay. So back to that Monday night. So one of the things that went through my head at that time was, maybe the reason why this is supposed to happen is because my husband needs to feel needed. And I'm a very independent woman. And one of the fights that we would have constantly is he's a very needy man and he needs to be needed. Yeah. And I remember one particular fight that we had. I told him, I want to be wanted. I don't want to be needed. And I the same goes in the reverse. I can hire someone to mow the lawn and to clean the pool, but I want you.
There's a difference between being taken care of and being cared for.
Yes.
And you wanted to be cared for and not taken care of.
Yeah. I thought that this happened because all of a sudden I'm going to need him. Yeah. And I'm going to need him to take care of me during this time. And so I thought that was, why it happened. And I remember, so they called my husband at the time and it took him forever to get there. And I remember thinking maybe it's just because this is all surreal because no one left. I told them all my class peeps, because I mean the class ended at 7:30 at night. A lot of the people that took my class were moms, and I told them, you don't have to wait here. I'll be fine. John will be here any second now. But it took him forever to get here, and I'll tell you more details about that particular. But long story short, fast forward to the very next week is when I had surgery. And I even played around with the idea of not having my mom come up to help take care of me because I wanted to not steal that from my husband. Yeah. And because I knew that all of a sudden he would have purpose and feel, oh, my wife needs me. And maybe that's right. Thank God that I didn't follow through with that, because my mom did come up and take care of me.
Hey, you listened to your intuition time though.
I did. But initially I told her, no, don't worry about it. So I have surgery the next Tuesday. Mind you, this is 3 days before Christmas. And it's a major surgery and it's a painful surgery. Yeah. I got a nerve block. So my right leg was basically numb for the first 2 days post-op. Yeah. And my husband at the time, he continued to work. I mean, he had cases that day, but now my mom is here to help take care of me. Yeah. And so, I don't remember the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. And I think that this is my brain's way of blocking out traumatic stuff. Yeah. My mom talks about it. Like, she was ready to, and my mom is not a mean person. She's like Mother Teresa, like literally. And for her to say words of, I was ready to hurt your husband. It says a lot. And he was the way he treated me. I remember thinking, so I had this, I don't remember what it was called, basically where it mechanically bends and straightens your leg. Right. And you use it for, the first few weeks after ACL surgery. So it's passive range of motion. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember when he came home from the OR, it was like literally the very next day, the way he manhandled me. I remember thinking, is this the way you treat your patients?
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
I think that was probably where my mom's like, oh, you don't mess with my baby. That came out.
Right.
So a little backstory. I had been thinking that possibly my husband might have been having an affair.
Yeah.
The reason why I thought that was because there was, it was about a month before, his phone was on the bar, and I saw that he had a Facebook Messenger come out, and I could actually see that it was from a female, but it didn't say who it was from. And I'm like, I don't even remember her name, but who's so-and-so?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a person that used to be a med student when I was a resident. And I'm like, well, what did she say? And he just told me whatever. I'm like, well, can I read it? And he wouldn't let me read it. And so I started having suspicions that there might be another female, and there could have been, I don't know. But long story short, there was so much more going on that I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
And so you need to understand that little detail, because this is what was going on in my brain.
Right. Yeah.
So Thursday, this is Christmas Eve, 3 days after my surgery. My nerve block is wearing off. Now I'm taking pain medicine, and I'm a cheap date. Like, you give me half a Benadryl and I'm like drunk the next day. So I am hurting. I am under the influence. And my husband at the time, he had 2 patients that he had to go round on because he operated on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I'm a physician. I know how long it takes to round on a patient.
Yeah.
And he was gone for a long time. He was gone for like 3 or 4 hours. I just remember thinking, like, you're gone way longer than it should have taken you.
Yeah. And the fact is that you realized that even though the state that you were in.
Exactly. And so when he came home, I confronted him because I thought that he might be with another woman at that point in time. And he became belligerent, like angry to the point that I was even nervous, and my mom was ready to jump in and like fight. My mom has never been in a fight.
Right. But her mother feathers were ruffled.
Yes. Oh, big time. If you want to get a rise out of my mom, just ask her about that night, that day. So it's still daytime, Christmas Eve. And so he storms out and leaves. And this is like probably 5:00 Christmas Eve. 2 of my closest friends and their families came to see me to see how I was doing. Kelsey and her husband and her girls came over, and then Cassie and her husband and her boys came over, and they came over about the same time, but my husband wasn't there. And they know me well. They knew something was going on. They just didn't know what.
Right.
So obviously it was awkward. And that night, literally, like, I remember it like it was yesterday. Like, I went to bed crying. I cried like for hours.
Yeah.
It was a low. My husband did not come home that night. And so you can imagine, I'm thinking that he's with another woman, and just all of these things. And I'm in a completely vulnerable state.
Yeah.
So he doesn't come home Christmas Eve. I'm in the worst pain that I've been in probably ever.
Yeah.
And now emotionally, I'm at a low point.
Yeah.
And I wake up Christmas morning, and he's still not there. I go and check the man cave, where sometimes when we would get in fights, he would go and basically, spend the night. He wasn't there. His truck wasn't there. It wasn't until about 9:30 that he came home, and he came through the door. And at that point, I was just kind of numbed. I didn't know what to think. And he proceeded to tell me that he had gone to a bar and met a friend and drank more than he should have. And he was pulled over and was arrested for a DUI. And he spent the night on Christmas Eve, spent the night in jail. And this was the second time that this has happened since I had been married to him. And that was the moment. And a quote that I want to inject right here is that you can look at a person and say that they've been trying to change, let's say, their weight for the past 10 years, but really change happens in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
It happens in a matter of seconds. It happens in that moment that you decide and take action.
Yeah.
And that was so true for me at that moment in time. That was the moment that I seized the day, and I didn't let the day seize me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, you need to get your stuff and get out of here.
Yeah.
So what most people that follow me online had no idea that I had been living with was a really highly functional alcoholic. And I'd been living with that alcoholic and making excuses for everything that comes along with that. Really, if I'm honest with myself, really since day one. I look back to one of the very first times that we started getting to know each other. And it was a day that he was post call, and it wasn't, I was actually on call, and things were slow. This was during residency. Things were slow during that evening. So we were texting, and then one thing led to another. And I finally asked him, I'm like, are you drinking? And I mean, I could kick myself right now, like saying it out loud, but, he said that he may or may not have finished a bottle of wine or two. And so for an alcoholic, anyone that knows alcoholic, or alcohol, any alcoholic knows that they are liars. It's a disease. It's a huge disease, and it's present in my family. It's present in his family. And the reality is that should have been red flag number one.
Sure.
But I was in a state where I did not love myself. And, I really feel like my story is going to resonate with so many females, because so many females don't love themselves enough to stand up for themselves and to stand up for what is right. People that have followed me online have heard this part of my story, or some people have, that I did not know that he had 4 kids instead of 1 kid until we had dated for a month or two. I knew that he had his oldest daughter, but I did not know that he had almost 2-year-old triplets until we had been dating. And the fact that I didn't value myself enough to realize that this man has essentially been lying to me. And didn't value and love myself enough to say, I deserve better than this. Peace. That's what I should have done.
Sure.
I think everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it weren't for the time that I was with him and married to him. Right. But the reality is alcoholism, and I'm going to do a complete podcast on alcohol, the everything health related, what it does to the body, talk about alcoholism, and talk about the reasons why I don't drink. And I don't judge people that do drink, but I have a very unique history with alcoholism. And it's rampant in my family as well. I don't have the gene, because the idea of not being able to drink has never been something for me. And now that I know what I do about alcohol and how it affects my hormones, it affects my body, like it's just not worth it to me. So this is why I personally choose not to drink. But the fact is that I had lived with a highly functional alcoholic that continued to get worse. And I look at so many people that are in relationships specifically with an abusive, and I was emotionally abused because he would have become this mean, negative person when he drank. And it was crazy. Like literally, it was almost like you could see him transform into a different person with literally a few sips of alcohol. It was crazy. And he, looking back now, he was coming home from work every day with that same negative, like angry, talk down to me. And my way of dealing with it is that I essentially stayed away and I filled my time with other things.
Yeah.
I didn't let him hold me back from me progressing and becoming better. Thankfully, but I think that a lot of females in their situation aren't strong enough in mind to not let that hold them back and not let them suppress, not become everything that they have potential of becoming.
Right.
And I honestly, I think that if I would have stayed in that marriage, I wouldn't have become everything and reached for my dreams and become the person that I am today. We are not defined by our past, but our past does define who we are today.
Yeah.
It's all in how you see. So I think it was Tony Robbins who said that some people see negative emotions like frustration and traumatic events, things like that, as something that hinders them in life. And I think successful people look at traumatic events like this and make them rise above the occasion.
Yeah, totally.
And so 2016, initially I had decided that I was going to let him become sober and we would figure it out. And in that process, I realized that I'm a better person without him. And so in 2016, I went through divorce. I sold my house, all 5,000 square feet of it. I had my mom and a few of my closest friends help me pack up. The year was a rough year, but the fact is that I did not let that day seize me. I seized that day, and I let that be the fuel that was the fire that helped me be successful, the successful person that I am today. So in 2016, a lot of people don't know, but I hit records in my coaching business in which most people don't hit. A majority of people don't ever hit these goals. And people had no clue what was going on behind the scenes. And a lot of people looked at me and assumed that I was. A lot of people assume, you know what they say about assumption, but they assume that everything comes easily. And I kept all of this off of social media because I definitely think that there's a time and place for this. And I'm not telling my story so that people can feel sorry for me. I'm telling my story to empower people, because if I should start keeping track about how many people who have private messaged me to tell me that, I mean, literally the girl 2 days ago said, your story gave me the courage to leave my husband, my alcoholic husband of 17 years. 17 years.
And even for those who aren't in those exact shoes that you were, hearing that was your hard and you chose one route over the other, even though if that's not the exact situation they're in, they can look at that and go, wow, if she was able to make that decision at that moment, pretty sure I can make the decisions that I need to now to take the best care of myself and look out for myself. So even if it's not somebody that's dealing with a functional alcoholic in their life, there's still so many people that appreciate the message that comes from your story.
It's, one thing that I really, that gets under my skin is excuses. And and my mantra for 2016 was #year of no excuses. And what started that on the surface was I did this, what I called a #ACL push-up challenge. And I showed everyone, okay, look, yes, I have just dedicated my time and energy to fitness full time, and I can't do most, most fitness moves require lower body, right?
Right.
But I can still use my upper body and I can do planks and push-ups. So I started this ACL push-up challenge. And so it was before I even had surgery. It was like day 2 after the injury. And it was right when Facebook Live had just launched, and I was already doing Periscope Live. So I think I did them on both. But I went live and I'm like, okay, this is meant to inspire you guys. And I just basically did as many push-ups as I could the first day, and they were full push-ups, not knee push-ups. And notice I didn't say girl push-ups because I'm a girl and I'm stronger than a majority of dudes. I'm just saying. So on my first attempt, I did 34 push-ups.
Nice.
And each day I would go live and I would try to just do one more. And originally my goal was to do 100 nonstop, but I actually only got, I think, to like 78 or 79.
Only.
I know, right?
Got to 78.
That was hard, but I ended up not going to 100 because I ended up starting Hammer and Chisel, one of the programs, and I'm like, okay, I can't be lifting weights and doing these push-ups, because I went to every other day once I got to about, I want to say 70. It was, so but I did that to encourage people to show that, you know what, I could easily make the excuse that I'm on crutches for 2 months, and then I could easily make the excuse that I'm sad and I'm depressed and I'm going through some real bad, you know what. But I didn't. I chose to not let to make those excuses, and chose to better myself every day, and chose to make the decisions that are going to help me reach my goals and my dreams. And living in a toxic relationship in which the cycle of alcoholism, because anyone that has ever been in a relationship, whether it be a marriage or not, with an alcoholic, it is, we had the same fight it seemed like it was every month, every 6 weeks or so, where the realization, like, it's the same fight and you can't do anything in moderation. Yes, I can. You're right. Just, it was such an unhealthy relationship. And it was in that moment, those 5 seconds, when he told me where he had been, and for my brain to process it, really didn't even have time to process it. I made the decision in those 5 seconds that changed my life. And so, like you said, because not every listener has dealt with alcoholism, but every listener has something in their life that is holding them back. And it's easy to just keep doing the same thing and keep living in the state of just mediocrity. I mean, I use that word often, but it is true. And I think that if I wouldn't have stood up for myself in that moment, I would still be in that state of mediocrity and not being my fullest potential. So that being said, this whole story is meant to give people a perspective and an understanding of me and who I am, because, we've just started this podcasting journey, and I've loved hearing people's messages, reading their reviews, and reading their comments. Just in the last, I mean, it's not even 2 weeks. It's like 10 days.
Ooh, I still am like so excited about it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's so cool.
But
I don't think it'll ever go away.
No,
I don't think the feeling will ever go away.
No, I agree. And so especially the people that have started with us 10 days ago, this is a relationship that we have with them. And I want them to understand who I am better, so that they can understand that I come from a place, I want to inspire. Like, that is my purpose. And I don't know the story to have any sympathy or any, there's no other desire than just to inspire people that life is precious, and you don't have to live in this state of abuse, of emotional, physical, mental. life is too short. Just this week, I've heard of two different people. One of my friends had a close friend pass away at my age, cancer, out of the blue. And then one of my childhood friends just lost her baby on week 3 of life. You know, we take this thing called life for granted. And so many people just wake up and they do the same damn thing every day.
Yeah. I saw something. Everybody always says, you know, you only have one life to live, you know, and you hear that, but you don't really listen to that.
Yep.
But I can't remember where I saw it, but I read it somewhere and it said, stop acting like you have a second life.
Yes.
That I think is so much more powerful when you look at it that way, instead of you only have one life to live, but you stop acting like you have a second life.
Yeah.
It just, to me, that really resonated with me. And it's so powerful to think about that.
Yep. It's the same concept. The dancer in me likes and I don't even remember where I first heard it, but life is not a dress rehearsal. And you know, being a dancer and a performer, we would always have dress rehearsal to go over before the main performance.
Right.
And I think so many people view life like that. Okay, once I get this amount of money, I'll do what I want to do. Or
I'm sorry, keep going.
No. You actually what?
I actually shared a post literally just before we hopped on to record this. I posted about this exact thing tonight. It's so weird because our subjects, we're on the same wavelength somehow.
Yes.
But I posted about this tonight because I had a conversation with someone who was telling me that they wanted my help, but they were hoping they didn't have to spend money to get my help.
Right.
Which, that's fine if you don't see the value in it, not in me, but in yourself. And so I was thinking about that because it's an excuse and I hate that excuse.
Oh yeah.
And I posted about life. We're in a constant state of discomfort, and it's either you're uncomfortable with the circumstances that you're under, or you are uncomfortable because you are working on changing the circumstances that you're under. You're always uncomfortable regardless.
Yep.
But you have to choose your discomfort.
Yep.
And something along the lines of, because this was relating to health and fitness, is that people think, I hope maybe next month I can afford to be healthy.
Yep.
And the thing is that next month turns into 3 months, and then 6 months, and then 4 years, and you still have the same goals and you're still uncomfortable.
Yep.
And so I put, it was a little bit of tough love, but I just put that 6 months will go by and you either have to decide to be uncomfortable room in your life to take care of yourself, or you can continue to enjoy that extra shot of tequila or extra dessert. And in 6 months, and in 6 months, wish that you had started then and be uncomfortable about the fact that you didn't. Exactly. So the thing is we're not comfortable in life ever. It's never a point where you're like, everything's good. You know, there's always, you're either uncomfortable because you're not happy with where you're at, or you're uncomfortable because it hurts and it's messy and not pretty to have to push past where you're at to get to where you want to be.
Well, and I believe that you can't reach your fullest potential if you don't face pain and failure and adversity. If you stay in a comfortable state, you are going to live a life of mediocrity.
And that's the
bottom
thing
line.
Your comfort zone really isn't that comfortable, because you're sitting there uncomfortable with your circumstances, but you're not uncomfortable enough to change them. So you have to choose your discomfort.
So true. Choose your hard, for sure. For sure. And I hope that anyone that is listening to this, you really have a gut check today, tonight, at whatever time of day it is that we are in your ears, and that you really have a come to Jesus of, okay, this is something that I've needed to change, and I've been too scared to change it, but I know I have to. And I always tell my clients and my coaches that the good stuff happens when we face our fears. And trust me, it was very scary for me to make that decision, because I knew that I didn't want to go back to medicine. I'd already had a taste of doing my purpose, and I didn't could I, people look at me and are like, well, yeah, you had a nice backup plan. No, I don't see it as a backup plan. I don't want to practice medicine again. That did not fulfill my soul. Why would you go back to something that it does not fulfill your soul? I am doing what I am meant to do. And so I have a taste of that. So yeah, of course it was scary. That moment of, wait, you were supposed to take over the finances and pay for my life. And it's scary, but I face my fears and great things have happened. Nothing but great things have happened. Has the journey been easy in the last, 18 months? Absolutely not. But some amazing things have happened. I mean, this podcast alone, this podcast alone, I literally, I didn't tell you about this. I should have told you about this, but I got a Facebook message from someone that a lot of people would consider a celebrity. She messaged me on Facebook and she's like, I just finished listening to this particular podcast and it spoke to me because, and she told me her story and she goes, I just love your voice and I'm ready to listen to the next podcast. And like, this is going to be a tool that is going to change people's lives.
Yeah.
And I think as long as we keep that purpose at our heart, we're going to be changing. We're going to be changing the world. And that is the purpose. The whole Fitz and Healthy life. That's what I want. That's what I want for people. I don't want people to live in that prison that I felt like I was living in, that I know so many people are currently living in. I want to empower them so that they know that they are worthy of a good, amazing life, a life by design, so that they can just take control. And I will never give up on that purpose, because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to say.
I just need 1 minute.
A little verklempt right now.
That's the thing is, I mean, we've talked about this, is that you and I share that same message that just burns deep. It burns really deep for different reasons for both of us. I haven't experienced alcoholism in my life, but I have different things that I've experienced. And so it burns really deep for us for different reasons. But the first day that our podcast launched, and I was sitting there looking at the fact that 5,000 people just in the first day were receiving our message.
Yep.
They were receiving our message. They found comfort and peace in what we have to share. I mean, that just was like, yes, like just to know that our message is being received, because I tell people all the time that if there is one thing, like if I were to die tomorrow and there was something you had to put on my tombstone that was my message, is that you're a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you. And the fact that people are receiving that message is just really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's a game changer. And it still gives me chills.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that it will always give me chills.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll never get used to this. I will never get used, for the best reasons. I'll never get used to this.
Yep. So on that note, I just want to thank the listeners who took the time to spend listening to my very personal story, and allowing me to become vulnerable with the listener, only to empower you. And if you are a listener that needed this empowerment, I want to challenge you to act on it now, not wait till tomorrow, not wait till next month when your finances are better. Act on it now. Decide, commit, and act. Yeah. Because that is the only way change is going to happen in your life.
Yeah. And like you said, it was in a split second that change happened. And it's not even so much the actions that you do. It's a decision that you make in your mind that all of the actions follow that.
Yep.
It takes the guesswork out of it. You just have to literally, like you said, in a split second, you make that decision, and that's it.
The mind controls the body. The body does not control the mind. And I made up my mind at that moment in time that this body was not going to live in this state of pain, of unhappiness, of unfulfillment, of unloved.
Yeah.
If that's even a word, unloved. I just created a word.
I think it's a word.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if not, then it is as of today.
We create a lot of words on here.
Do.
So, like I said, we need a Fitz and Healthy dictionary.
Yes, for real, for real. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you haven't taken the time to figure out how to leave a review.
Okay, girl. Okay.
I'm totally calling you out.
Robert is shaking his head right now.
If you haven't taken the time to figure out how to leave a review, we would greatly appreciate it, because the way that we can get our message out is the more times, the more people that subscribe, download, and leave a review. That's how iTunes works. And on whatever platform you listen to, please subscribe. We have weekly podcasts every Monday. We've got a good one coming out, and every Friday we have a Fitz Friday Q&A, which we do live, and then we upload it to our podcast the very next week. So so we appreciate you in advance taking the time to subscribe, download, and leave a review, figuring out how to leave a review.
Thank you for receiving our message. It's like I said, it's huge to know that you guys receive our message.
Yeah. And we're excited to start this journey and take you all along with us, because it's a wild ride ahead of us.
We're only a week in.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have been on every emotion the scale has.
Yep. Exactly. So we hope that you have been blessed by this message. And Cinthanie, your message for them.
You are a good person, and you deserve good things to happen to you. And you have to decide that.
Amen. We hope that you all have a Fitz and Healthy day. We'll see you next podcast. Make sure that you find us on social media. You can find Cinthanie on Instagram and Facebook at Cinthanie. So that's CINTHANIE, and on Snapchat at Cinthanie P. And find me on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Club Fitz Fitness. Remember, that's FITZ Fitness. And on Snapchat, just at Club Fitz. I appreciate your time listening so much. If you enjoyed this episode of the Fitz and Healthy podcast, can you please go do me a favor and go subscribe at whatever platform that it is that you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. We read every single review, and we appreciate the time that you take to leave your thoughts and opinions. Now, also remember, while I am a medical doctor, the information I provide here is not intended to provide medical advice or a professional diagnosis, opinion, treatment, or services to you or to any other individual. I am providing general information for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical or professional care. You should not use this information in place of a visit, call, consultation, or the advice of your physician or other healthcare provider. The information I share is not intended to treat, cure, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. If you believe you have a medical emergency, just call 911 immediately or your physician. Now, enough of that medical legal jargon. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your time. Now, go live a Fitz and Healthy life.